You goon. Take a Benadryl.
Beyond and hello, everyone. My name is Jonathon Dornbush, and this is Podcast Beyond, episode 619. Yes, we did it. We're here on the week of a holiday. Yes, if you're wondering, we're actually recording this the week before the show is airing, so if like major PlayStation 5 news broke on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, Herman Hulst has clearly steered the ship wrong so far in his first week.
Yeah, that would be just cruel.
Yeah, it'd be really mean. He's like, oh, I'm in Europe, so it doesn't matter to me. Please don't do that, Herman. He's actually in SF, San Mateo.
Right now?
At the PlayStation headquarters, yeah. His like first day at PlayStation HQ.
We go now live.
Yeah, we're going now. We're going to go on the road to PlayStation HQ. No, I'm your host, Jonathon Dornbush, for this episode. I am joined this week by Max Scoville.
Hey!
Brian Altano.
Beyond.
And Tom Marks.
Beyond Tom. Hi.
Hi, Tom. Beyond Tom. Mm-hmm. Tom,
that's a new one.
I just said my name. It's trying it out. Didn't work. I don't like it. We're going to go back to just saying hello.
All right. We'll restart the show and we'll see how it goes. Cool. Hello, Tom. I'll guess your middle name at the end of the show. Anyway, for this week, I decided we could do something a little bit different since we're planning ahead. Earlier this week that we're recording, last week for you listening, they announced the nominees for the Game Awards this year. A few major PlayStation games have been nominated in many categories, as well as a bunch of really cool third-party stuff. So I thought we could go over our predictions for who should win and who will win some of the biggest categories. Brian and Max, you guys, I know, have to leave a little bit into the recording, so we will focus on the big categories at first. But before that, I did want to also ask, obviously, the thing about the Game Awards is, even though it's called the Game Awards, it is perhaps just as much also about the big announcements that happen every year. I mean, this has been a show that has had like major Batman games announced, major...
Also, when they say it's the 2019 Game Awards, what they mean is it's the first 11 months and 2 weeks of 2019. Yes. And then they cut it off.
Yes, yeah.
And also the last 2 or 3 weeks of 2018.
No,
Yes.
I think it's actually there's like a blind spot.
There is, but because there is also some of 2018 because of the Smash.
Super Smash Bros.
Yes.
That
Smash
was
came out like December 5th last year.
Yeah, it's one of those weird, like the end of November, you can't release a game for the Game Awards, basically, is how it works.
So last year we got an announcement for Smash Brothers at the Game Awards, but the Smash Brothers was not eligible for a Game Award. And this year it is, but Jedi Fallen Order isn't because it happened to fall in the couch cushions of the universe or something like that.
Yeah, it's a weird timing thing.
This is why the Oscars are at the beginning of the following year for the year they're counting, is to avoid this exact problem.
And they're actually going even earlier this year to, I think, avoid any confusion. So,
and it's not, real quick, not to throw total shade at the Game Awards, because we do our Game of the Year, our end of the year Game of the Year stuff in December as well.
Yes,
right.
Yeah.
There's some level of that.
Yes, yeah. They're obviously wrangling dozens of platforms who are coming in to help vote on the Game Awards and everything, outlets and everything. So understandable they have to do stuff early, but we'll get to some of the nominees in a bit. Let's start off with predictions. I wanted everyone to come with, Tom found this out last minute, so if you don't have things, I understand.
My brain's going.
One announcement of a PlayStation game or something at the Game Awards, as well as a non-PlayStation announcement at the Game Awards. So anything third party or, another first party. Brian, I'm going to start on your side of the desk.
Okay. I want a new FromSoft game, obviously. I'll just keep saying that forever. I want something that's a little more horror tinge. It doesn't necessarily have to be Bloodborne 2. I know that, like, narrative-wise, that doesn't make a ton of sense, but I want a horror FromSoft game. I don't care if that's a viable prediction or not. I want to will it into existence. And number 2, and this is kind of cheating, I want a PlayStation character to show up in Smash. Particularly...
Yeah, if you had
Ratchet
to put
and
one.
Clank.
Ratchet and Clank?
Onion Cat.
Onion Cat?
Yeah, he's a good one.
Parappa?
Parappa's a really good one.
Parappa would fit well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that game has become this celebration of the industry, and PlayStation's just kind of like Charlie bucketing outside the window, nose against the glass, watching everybody eat candy. And it's not fun.
Last year we got, at the Game Awards, we got the reveal of Joker from Persona 5, which is a game you cannot play on Switch, in spite of that being a thing that would really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's the closest we have to sort of PlayStation representation.
Yeah. Right now he's the closest. And it would be fitting, especially like that was a year ago. We're on the 5th fighter of the original planned fighter pass for that game. So this would be the final fighter of the originally announced set. It would be very cool to end 1 year later with that final announcement and have it be from PlayStation, given that Banjo is there from the Xbox side of things.
Yep.
Tom, what about you?
I think PlayStation announcement, I think probably we're gonna get. This is maybe a safe guess, but I think we'll probably get an American date for Persona 5 Royal. That just seems like a fit. The Atlas likes doing stuff at the Game Awards, and then non-PlayStation or sort of general announcement. Along the same lines, I think we'll get first look or first trailer or something like that for Elden Ring, the FromSoft game that probably isn't going to be horror, probably more high fantasy sort of stuff is from what we've been hearing. That's the one that's collaborating with George R. R. Martin.
What if we want Bloodborne 2 more than that?
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, Tom, you're outnumbered at this desk.
Well, in that hypothetical scenario, I think you'll be disappointed.
This is not the FromSoft game I ordered. I want the Bloodborne 2. Go back in there and have them make it again.
I could see, Persona having some presence again yearly at the Game Awards.
It just seems like a
Presence?
There will be presents.
It seems like an easy sort of like place for them to do this.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're still waiting on that. Max, what about you?
I really, really hope we finally see that stupid Batman game that they've been like teasing on Twitter and on the sides of buildings without actually announcing. That would be kind of cool.
They teased that like Court of Owls thing, and what was it? It was like Batman Day or something.
It was around Batman
and, like, nothing
Day,
happened.
and they also teased it. And this is just the worst timing. I don't think they intended it to be this way, but it was the same week that both PlayStation had a State of Play and Microsoft had an Inside Xbox.
Yeah, that's not teasing. That's bullying. Teasing is fun. Yeah, bullying is mean. We've been bullied by the Batman.
What about PlayStation?
I feel like maybe this is a long shot, but a Yakuza Like a Dragon American or worldwide release date that is actually coming out in Japan in January. Yeah. Japanuary, they call it.
Oh no,
they don't call it that.
Japanimation. I
went from being sort of like kind of tepid to suddenly just extremely on board with that game because it sounds like it's just going to be bonkers.
You're kind of going media blackout on it too, right?
Yeah,
you're like trying to say a little bit.
Yeah. And then I just skimmed the trailer and I was like, oh crap, this looks good. I don't know. I think like a PlayStation character in Smash would be pretty cool. Interesting thing, the 25th anniversary of the PS1 is somewhere around here. It's happening any minute now. We might have already forgotten it. But
maybe we'll get a PlayStation Classic.
What if that would like
a small version of a PlayStation that plays like
what if they did like
20 classic games?
What if they did like the PS1
December 3rd?
Yeah.
Seems unrealistic to me.
I agree.
December 3rd. Wow, that's actually really close.
Yeah, that's really close.
How weird would it be if the PlayStation centric character in Smash was just a PlayStation 1?
Honestly,
I would love that.
That'd be
not
rad.
out of character for Super Smash Bros.
Yeah.
They've done weird stuff before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like weirdly aligned with like Rob the Robot.
It would be really odd watching like Super Mario beat the crap out of a PlayStation 1.
I feel like that would be like the only conditions that like Nintendo was like, yeah, we'll allow a Sony property on here. It has to be one of your consoles though.
Yeah,
It's just like
there's
Mario.
like so much weird gray area there because there's Solid Snake and then there's the Persona guy and then it's like that's so close to being like that. Those were things that we sort of like kind of conflate with like exclusivity on PlayStation for at least a long time.
Yeah.
The weird thing is you're like, oh, where does Solid Snake belong? And you're like, well, I guess he first started out on Nintendo kind of, but we know him for PlayStation. But really, that franchise was first on the MSX, which was a Microsoft piece of hardware. So like, there's that weird like, oh, who do you work for?
He belongs to everyone.
That's
like so weird.
I'm whatever on Death Stranding. In fact, I'm tired of talking about it, but seeing Sam Porter Bridges show up in Smash Brothers throwing packages and falling on people would be really, really funny.
That'd be funny.
I'd be
also,
100%.
Especially if he like walked out and he just like fell and just collapsed on guys and they killed them.
his build set kind of works for that. So yeah, that would actually be really funny.
Like he constructed a bridge to get himself back onto the land after getting knocked off.
That would be so strange. I don't know. I'm so excited to see what the legacy of that weird ass game is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, for like any Sony reveals, it'd be cool if we, I don't know, maybe new gameplay of Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
I feel like Last of Us seems like a safe-ish bet just because that's like, didn't they reveal Last of Us gameplay at Game Awards a couple years ago?
First reveal was at PSX.
Not Last of Us Part 2. I mean the original.
Oh, the original.
Yeah.
It might have.
Like that's what I usually kind of look to is like, how do you, which companies have the best relationships with the Game Awards? Like usually there's kind of a track record.
The timing on that would be weird because like we got a bunch of preview stuff that Jonathan saw a couple months ago, and then the game got delayed by a few weeks. So that would sort of be a little bit of a make good.
I feel like some cinematic stuff to just kind of be like, hey, this thing's still coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the PlayStation side, I have a different prediction, but I think we have a better chance of seeing Ghost of Tsushima just because it's been so quiet.
Yep.
But I also don't know if we'd get a release date because I think that game is after The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
So it's a little weird to announce that game's release date in December and it's like, it's September. I don't think they'll do that, but it's been so quiet on that game that a new cinematic trailer or like a story trailer would help get the cycle going on that game.
Yeah.
I have a half joking but also half serious prediction. I think we'll get a new Death Stranding trailer.
Yeah.
You know, we might.
Yeah, we
that's
might.
actually we have at every Game Awards.
I mean,
and
we don't know,
E3.
we don't know if there's going to be DLC for that
Yeah.
or like expansions or
I mean,
like.
I'm saying that even if there's not, I'm saying that we'll just get a trailer for the game that is already out.
Oh,
that's not that weird, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Accolades trailer debuts.
One of the big reveal last year was the motorcycle in Zelda. Or like, was that year before or whatever? Yeah,
that might have been the year before.
Yeah,
that
but
was such a
basically
big
they were
one.
like, hey, here's like you've all played this game, you're all very excited about it. It's been out for a few months now. Okay, you get a dirt bike, you know.
Yeah.
They were like, great news, everybody. Sam Porter Bridges strapping on some rollerblades. You're like, what?
They should do a reverse Zelda and give him a horse.
Ooh.
But like a horrible horse?
Yeah.
Like
So,
a really nasty.
Actually, a
Sam
donkey would be
Bridges and the horrible
donkeys
horse.
what if you could just ride around one of those big muddy buddies? Just get on the back of that big wet cat.
Sure, why not? Might get me to reinstall the game. We'll see.
After last week, you talked about a wet PS5. Now you're talking about wet horses. It's a lot of wet.
I
on
didn't make
show.
this wet video
No, I
game.
know you didn't. I know.
Oh,
I
if
know.
you guys love wet horses, you should check out the hit video game Bloodborne. Full of them.
Yeah, that's
Lots
true.
of them. Old wet mares everywhere.
My PlayStation prediction, because I just keep saying it for every show where it could possibly happen, is another Ratchet and Clank sequel. I'd like a proper sequel to the one that Insomniac did a couple years ago.
Can they call it Ratchet as Hell?
I mean, all of their old games used to have puns.
Yeah.
It was like Up Your Arsenal, Going
Oh,
Commando.
yeah. Ratchet
all
meant
that
a very
stuff.
different thing then. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's
Yeah.
like a tool. And now it's like, no, I don't know. That means you're getting in like a fight in a parking lot.
Yeah. It means you're
Yeah.
kind of like a dirty fighter or
Yeah.
sexual.
Yeah.
Ratchet gets a new name, the sequel from Insomniac Games.
They should just lean into that and do like a Conker's Bad Fur Day. It's like
Sure.
Ratchet.
Yeah.
Other than that, I was going to say Batman, so just whatever Rocksteady's working on, just like finally.
I think that's a good guess.
Even a teaser trailer. They have done big Rocksteady stuff before at the Game Awards, so that
Yes.
would be nice
Yeah.
to see it. But we don't know if we're going to see any of those things. I hope we do. Let us know your predictions in the comments for this week's episode, and we'll definitely read some on the next episode or the week of the Game Awards. However, time works
play by
out.
our rules too. Do a PlayStation 1 and a non-PlayStation.
Yeah.
Wait, hold up. Didn't we just get an announcement this morning that Resident Evil 3 remake is a thing?
It's a rumor.
A rumor.
Yes.
That seems like a pretty safe bet. I'm
Yeah,
going to put
that's
my
fair.
money on that one.
Yeah, for those who don't know, that was the day we're recording this last Friday. Resident Evil 3 is rumored to be on the way. There wasn't much detail beyond that, but I think some of the rumors said it was in the works with the RE2 engine, which would make sense.
Do you know what that means? That means we are inching closer to a Resident Evil 4 remake.
Yes.
We just have to get through Code Veronica.
Do we
which
need
is-
it? Does it? I don't think it needs it really.
I'll take it.
On
That'd be
next gen.
fine. But what about Dino Crisis?
Nah.
That was a left turn I did not expect.
Yeah. Anyway, another left turn or a right turn, depending on how you feel the show should be going. We're going to do some of our predictions for who should and will win at the Game Awards. I'm going to start with Game of the Year, of course, start with the biggest award of the night, which will be probably the last one they give. But I want each of you to tell me who you think should win and will win. So should win, I think, is more of a like personal preference. Will win is more of a who you think everyone will vote for. For reference, the nominees for Game of the Year: Control, Death Stranding, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Resident Evil 2, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, and The Outer Worlds. So, Brian.
Of those, I want Resident Evil 2, and I think it will either be Control or Death Stranding. Actually, no. I think it's going to be either Control or Smash Brothers.
Okay.
Yeah. People need to be reminded of this, but like Jeff Keighley doesn't do the voting.
Yeah.
It's going to be awkward
that would be-
if Death Stranding wins, though.
Yeah, that's like nepotism up the wazoo. That's
It's
a
actually
lot.
it's cronyism.
It's ratchet as hell.
Nepotism, you got to be related to them, but cronyism
They
is
are
just they're
related.
pals.
He did one of those episodes on NBC.
Through the Chiral Network.
Jeff Keighley Bridges.
Did you say Chiral?
Yeah. I uninstalled that video game.
And you forgot how to pronounce words? Okay.
It's not a real word.
Tom, who do you think should win and will win?
That's a tough one, man. I think probably. I actually think that potentially Smash Bros. Will win. This is the weird thing about this to me is every time a game comes out at the end of the year and a system like this happens where it's like, well, you can vote on it next year. Every time we get to the next year and that happens, it always feels weird.
Yeah.
Like Smash Bros. To me does not feel like a 2019 game. And I say that with all due respect because I love that game. But like, it's odd to me because I think it would win, but mentally I'm not, like, in our own stuff, I'm not comparing it to the rest of the games on that list for a Game of the Year award. I think Smash might win. If it's not Smash, I honestly don't know. Personally, on that list, I think I'd vote Control or maybe Smash Bros. I really did like Smash.
Smash is like it's a celebration of the industry, and so is the Game Awards. So that sort of feels like a good fit.
So here's my thinking for Smash Bros. In 2018 was fine. It was a cool, fun party fighting game that was, ambitious and impressive. In 2019, it was a game where Banjo-Kazooie came in and beat the crap out of every other video game character.
That's true.
That was like, Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, but with Banjo-Kazooie and games. It's still, I don't know. It's going to be weird.
Death Stranding is like a Game Awards darling, though. Like, I feel like.
Yeah, but like you said, the Game Awards are not voting on this. This is an industry poll.
What if Jeff Keighley cooks the books?
I mean, if you're gonna throw that voodoo out there, if you're gonna make that, then I don't know.
I trust the dude. He seems like a good man.
No, I don't think it would do that.
I don't think so.
Like, speaking genuinely, that's not a thing that anyone needs to worry about.
Max, who do you think should and will win?
I think Control is like a dark horse this year. I really like. That's such a good game.
Yeah.
I think it kind of was frustratingly slept on, and it's also like, oh, hey, here's a new IP from like a veteran studio that completely stuck the landing, and we're like arguing about other dumb nonsense,
That does weird stuff. I love how weird Control is.
I could see Outer Worlds kind of coming through and being like, I think a lot of the people who are in a position to vote are also like, you get a lot of sort of, I don't know, industry veterans who are like, that's a thing that really clicked with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who is voting on this. Like, what is?
So yeah, I wanted to bring that up. I forgot to before we started with the nominations. But who selects the winners? According to the Game Awards official website, winners are determined by a blended vote between the voting jury, which is 90% of the voting weight, and public fan voting 10%. Fans can vote for their favorite games once every 24 hours on thegameawards.com and via Google search for all categories, and also via Twitter DM and Discord and select categories.
But you can just DM Jeff Keighley and be like, Control.
Outer Worlds.
So essentially, the fans won't ever pick the winner, but if there's like two that are really close, the fan vote can probably push it over the edge to one or the other.
Which is like, if there's ever a year that would happen, it's this year. Because
Yes.
I honestly think that this is not really one of those like clear cut, like God of War Red Dead years or something like that, or Breath of the Wild. This is going to be one of those years where like 4 or 5 games get equal amount of votes, and then one of them tips over slightly.
And for those wondering, the nominating jury, which is 90% of the vote, is made up of over 80 global media and influencer outlets, including IGN. IGN is one of those, spread across the entire globe. So all of those people comprise 90% of the vote, and then fans who can vote every day, whereas I believe each outlet only casts one vote. We're not voting every day. Make up the other 10%. So yeah, I totally agree with you, Brian. I think this is, of any of the years of recent memory, this one will be very much determined by the little splits.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm rooting for RE2 or Control, but I feel like they're kind of, the conversation around those is almost like died down. I could see, for anything that might be swayed by like fan voting, I think Death Stranding and Sekiro both have the most sort of active people clicking on stuff on the internet. You know?
Sekiro kicks ass. So it's worth mentioning that. But I think that Resident Evil 2 is just like a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
And a little bit more accessible for most people.
I do wonder how recency bias will affect RE2.
That's definitely a thing.
Compared to the other games. Because even with Smash, that game has all these updates throughout the year. So we're always talking about Smash to a certain
we should do
extent.
Game of the Month more,
But
we used to.
Just do awards ceremonies every year.
I think if RE2 came out 3 weeks ago, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. I think it would be the clear-cut winner here. But the fact that it came out a long time ago, I think like you're totally right. People forgot about it.
But I think honestly that's one of the reasons people are talking about Sekiro less too.
Yeah.
Because Sekiro came out earlier in the year, and when it came out, people were raving about it, and people were talking about it a lot, and the conversation on that game kind of died down, partly for what you were saying, Max, because like it didn't really get updates, or I mean, it's not like it was abandoned. It's just like it didn't have constant DLC or anything like that.
Mr. X should be in Smash.
Yeah, Mr. X is in. Mr. X will cook you food in Monster Hunter World now. So
I don't want that.
Yeah. It's really silly.
What does he do? He walks in with his weird hat.
Monster Hunter World Iceborne had a event with Resident Evil 2 Remake, and it makes the handler, who's like your helper person, look like Mr. X, like look like the tyrant. And so you can do all the normal animations where she's like making you a meal, but it's just
I'm
tyrant.
so immensely grossed out by the idea of somebody cooking while wearing like leather winter gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
great.
An overcoat.
And you can have her
that
in
off.
that fight or in that costume through every single cutscene in the game. So it's like really weird.
That's strange. Well, maybe that'll help it in some of the categories. Brian and Max, I know you guys have to leave very soon. Do you have time for one more category?
Yes, let's speed run.
Best game direction. Control, Death Stranding, RE2, Sekiro, and Outer Wilds. So
Control.
almost the same.
Yeah, I'd go Control too.
Control.
Me too.
Sekiro.
Okay.
I think Control had some really bad checkpointing.
I think this is one where Death Stranding could win.
Yeah.
Because when you think of a game director, Kojima is one of the people
Yes.
people think of most.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really safe bet.
But yeah, it'd be interesting to see something else pull ahead, something even like an Outer Wilds. But I'm glad to see that one represented in a lot of categories. But we'll get to some of those. Tom, you and me will have to handle that.
What's the next one?
The next one, if you guys have time, Best Narrative, which is A Plague Tale: Innocence, Control, Death Stranding, Disco Elysium, and The Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds.
God, the story in Plague Tale was awesome.
I haven't played that
I'm
one.
gonna go with that one. I really like that game.
That's a really interesting one. I don't know who will win this.
I don't know who's going to win it either.
Yeah.
My pick is probably Disco Elysium or Control.
Okay.
Disco Elysium is so weird and cool.
I think it's too new. Like not enough
Disco?
people have gotten into that. Yeah.
Disco came out at like the exact same time as Outer Worlds.
Did it?
Yeah.
I feel like that was a slower burn. Outer Worlds, we knew about that ahead of time.
The only difference is that Outer Worlds is Obsidian, and it got the whole Fallout comparison, and it's also on more platforms, whereas Disco Elysium is a PC exclusive, and so people just didn't. Not as many people had the opportunity to play it.
Jeepers, how could that affect the outcome of something?
Yeah.
One more for you guys. Best Art Direction: Control, Death Stranding, Grease,
I never found that out.
Sayonara Wild Hearts, Sekiro, and Link's Awakening.
God,
Oof, man. Link's Awakening is stunning.
Yeah.
It's a little choppy, though. Gris or whatever is one of the most beautiful video games I've ever played in my entire life. Like, that game got, like, you didn't even know you were looking at a video game half the time.
Gris or Control, I think.
Yeah.
Control
Those
is
are my picks too.
stunning.
Yeah, art direction, I think, Control for me, because it also makes such a fascinating world out of a very limited color palette. Like somehow out of reds and grays, it makes it such a fascinating world to explore. Anyway, thank you guys
Okay,
for
we
joining
have
us.
to run now.
Enjoy your meeting.
Goodbye.
And then Tom,
So long.
just knocking everything down.
Did we do
Goodbye.
what we thought was going to win for the?
No, I just wanted to get them.
Get them out the door.
Yeah, just get rid of them.
Seriously.
Best narrative, what will win? I'm just gonna go back to that.
Dude, this is one of those things where it's like I feel like so many of these Death Stranding is just gonna like could sneak in and win it for a lot of them.
Especially with the fan vote, just because I do think there is a big groundswell of fan support for that game.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of outlets, obviously we gave it a lower score. There are a lot of outlets that gave it higher scores, and I do think are pretty passionate about pushing it. So I don't know how that's gonna weigh out.
Yeah, it's tricky. I think that if I had to pick one that I think is probably going to win, it's either Control or Outer Worlds.
Yeah, I think Outer Worlds could sneak ahead just because a lot of people have played it more than Control, I think, and people grab onto it because of the stories with the characters and the way it pushes you through those.
The story's
worlds.
really good in that game.
Yeah, I'm
and
still
the
playing
writing
through it,
is just really good in that.
It's so funny. Best art direction for will win. I could see Sayonara slipping in.
I don't think so. No, unfortunately.
No?
I love Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Yeah.
It is one of my absolute top games of this year. I think in weaker years it could sneak ahead.
I just don't know I can't read the room on that game.
Yeah.
So that's the problem for me.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
And frankly, I think it's a beautiful game, but I don't think I don't think the art is specifically what makes it so impressive.
Gotcha.
I think kind of the visuals plus the music plus like all the story being told, like all those things mixed makes it a really impressive game.
Yeah.
Whereas like Grease is like that. If that game had a worse art style, it would not be a good game.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like
No,
the
it
art
does.
style is one of the big things in that game that makes it so cool and so impressive.
Yeah. That's a tough one for me too. This is a year where, again, I feel like it's so split in so many of these categories.
Yeah, this is a funny year in general for these sorts of awards because we've had 2 years of clear frontrunners in categories, right? Last year, God of War and Red Dead were very clearly the frontrunners. The year before that, Breath of the Wild was very clearly a frontrunner in terms of on the tip of people's tongue and sort of in these conversations. And this is the first time in like 3 or 4 years where there have been a lot of really good games. It's not like it was a weak year by any means.
No, yeah.
It's just none of them are really jumping ahead of each other.
For sure.
So it's hard to predict.
I do hope that also leads to it being spread.
Yeah.
Like I do hope awards get spread to a bunch of different developers because there has been so much great varied work this year.
Yeah.
Even if something does not, jump out at us like a God of War or Red Dead did last year. Anyway, moving on to the next category, Best Score or Music. Cadence of Hyrule, Death Stranding, Devil May Cry 5, Kingdom Hearts 3, and Sayonara Wild Hearts.
This one I want Sayonara to win.
Yeah.
This is the point where I think
it's a game built around its soundtrack.
Yeah, it is an album. Like they call it basically an album, and that's really, really what I want to win. What about you? I don't want to railroad.
Man. Come on. Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah.
It's legitimately a great score. Yoko Shimomura, who composes the Kingdom Hearts franchise, has always been amazing. I've been fortunate enough, I've seen the Kingdom Hearts Orchestra concert a couple times, and she always jumps in at the end to perform like the ending suite for every performance, and she's knocks it out of the park every time, and her scores are so great. And obviously they're also, they're playing with maybe a better hand because they're starting out also with Disney music. So that kind of helps. But I think the arrangements that they do are really great, especially in this game.
If Kingdom Hearts 3 wins this category,
yes,
does that mean that Skrillex has won a Game Award?
Ooh, I mean, if that song, it's weird because it's like the Grammy thing of if that particular song is involved. And also I will say the theme song to Kingdom Hearts 3 slaps so hard. I don't usually say that phrase, but damn, is that a good song. Yeah, I did not expect to like it. I especially went in sort of being like, Skrillex. Like, just, you have that innate thing when you think of Bangarang for a lot of people. And so I was just like, great, Skrillex. But he's like a legit Kingdom Hearts fan. And so he was just honored to do this. And so when the song drops, it's rad. So I would like that to win. Honestly, I don't know, though.
What's going to win?
Yeah, what will win? I could see Sayonara winning this one.
I hope Sayonara wins this one. I think it could as well.
I think it will have an overwhelming jury vote.
This is also one of the categories that I think Death Stranding is less split on. Like there's a lot of people who either can either love or hate the story, think it's like this really cool weird thing, or think it's this incomprehensible mess. And like the way you go on that has been people have gone on that is very split.
Yeah,
I think nobody really disagrees with the fact that the way the music and licensed music is used in this game is like pretty excellent.
Yes, yeah. I think there are a lot of new low roar fans because of this game.
Right. So this is another one that I could see people kind of like more fully supporting that game on, regardless of whether you like the game itself.
Yeah, that's totally fair. On the music score audio side of things, that's specifically focused on the music that you're listening to, the way the soundtrack is played in the game. Best audio design, however, is a different category, and the nominees for that are Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Control, Death Stranding, Gears 5, RE2, and Sekiro. This is one where I feel pretty out of my depth because I haven't played much of Gears 5. I didn't finish RE2, very bad at Sekiro, and haven't played too much of COD. I feel like COD could win because, as dumb as this sounds, a lot of the marketing around that game before the lead up was like, look at how realistic the gun sounds are.
Yeah,
that's
why it's being honored.
That was a really, really big emphasis on like, this is extremely realistic. Mm-hmm. And that takes a lot of audio design and effort. I wouldn't be shocked if it won in this category.
No, I wouldn't be shocked either. I've never been a Call of Duty guy.
Yeah.
Pretty much ever. Not that I respect them. It's just like never been my type of shooter.
Yeah.
I like slower shooters, more tactical shooters. And yeah, it's a little like this is one of those categories where I agree. I'm a little bit out of my depth. Probably I don't know what I would vote for. I think Call of Duty is probably the front runner there. I will say too, audio design and score are the two categories more than any other, not including like the big ones, that I'm disappointed Jedi Fallen Order is not in this year's nominations. I think Jedi Fallen Order's music and audio design is like really, really good.
It's great.
So
yeah. I would have loved to see representation there for it. Moving on from that, though, best performance. Ashley Birch as Parvati in The Outer Worlds, Courtney Hope as Jessie in Control, Laura Bailey as Kate in Gears 5, Mads Mikkelsen as Cliff in Death Stranding, Matthew Peretta as Dr. Casper Darling in Control, and Norman Reedus as Sam Porter Bridges in Death Stranding. Not surprised to see the Death Stranding representation here. I'm glad Control got 2 nominations. Personally, of this whole list, I haven't played enough of The Outer Worlds to have fallen for Parvati as much as other people, though I think her performance is great, and I think she could win because of that groundswell of support. I think my favorite performance here is probably Dr. Casper Darling from Control. Mm-hmm. I think he is so funny and so great in that game.
Yeah, that's probably my vote, too. I think Ashley Birch might be the front runner here because people really have been talking about Parvati a lot, and she is. I was saying this. I can't remember who I was saying this to yesterday at lunch, but like she is the only character, like NPC sidekick in a video game, who has ever changed my mind about a thing just by talking to you. Like there's this moment, I won't spoil it, but basically at the first sort of like end of the first
early choice.
Act, the early choice you've got to make. Yeah. You're choosing between 2 things that will either one will negatively impact a group of people, and right before you make the choice, that character, if she's with you, comes up and is like, hey, I really don't think you should do this choice. It just doesn't feel right to me. And I was fully ready to make that choice. And just this little like monologue she gives was so kind of well done and well written and well performed that it genuinely changed my mind in that moment. And I was like 100% dead set ready to make it.
We should talk about what happened to you because I made the other choice.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I didn't listen. I stuck to my guns.
Yeah,
but
we can talk about that after.
Yeah, I think she's probably the front runner.
Laura Bailey, I think, also could because she did a fantastic job in Gears 5.
Yeah.
And she's also probably the biggest name in this group in terms of like voice acting, like game voice acting. Obviously, Mads Mikkelsen and Norman Reedus.
We do have, yes, 2 of television's actors. Mads, who I love from Hannibal, so if he won, I would not mind.
It's so funny to think of Mads Mikkelsen as a television actor. I mean, he is because of Hannibal, but I just think of him as movies.
No, he's primarily done. I think he broke in through. I'm gonna forget, but there was a foreign language Oscar nominee that he was a part of, and that was the first time I had recognized him in a role.
I recognized him from Casino Royale.
Oh, man, yeah, that's where I forgot about that. Yeah,
anyway,
he's great.
I think what we can all agree on is that Norman Reedus should not be on this list. Norman Reedus should not be on this list, and Norman Reedus should not be on this list.
I don't think he's good in that game.
I like. Okay, let me preface this because I haven't been on the show to talk about Death Stranding yet. I really enjoyed Death Stranding.
Yeah, I think we can both say we really have enjoyed. We haven't finished it. Neither of us have finished.
I really had fun with it, and then about 25-ish hours in, I just sort of like it was getting a little samey for me, and I just sort of drifted away for other games, and that's not like because I wasn't having fun. It was just because I just drifted away.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of really good performances in this game. I actually really like the story too. Like
me too,
it is.
so far.
I really enjoy it. I think Norman Reedus is weirdly overrated and incredibly stiff and not very emotive in every performance he gives.
I think he is a very one-note actor and can be good at that one note. Like I do think he is solid as Daryl on The Walking Dead in some of the earlier seasons once they got past the point of him and his brother being just the worst humans. But I do think he can be really great in that role. I don't think he has a lot of range. And because this game has so much crazy stuff going on in it, and so many of the performances are fun or in on the idea that this is kind of crazy and playing to that and being a little soap operatic, he is just so toned down and tepid.
Like the idea that he would get nominated for this over Troy Baker as Higgs.
Oh,
Higgs is wild. Higgs is this insane, over-the-top megalomaniac villain who like just has clearly gone crazy in the coolest way.
And he sells it. Troy is so good in that role. Troy is great in most roles, but he's really good in that role.
I'm pretty surprised that. I mean, I guess I'm not surprised because it's Norman Reedus.
It's easy to nominate the main character.
And I think that there are more deserving people within Death Stranding.
Yeah, me
honestly.
too. Moving on from that one, games for impact, which is one of the more uniquely named categories. The nominees for this one include PS4 exclusive Concrete Genie, Gris, Kind Words, which you've played, correct?
Yes.
Life is Strange 2, and Sea of Solitude. Gris is coming to PS4. I don't believe it's on there yet, but Kind Words is PC only?
Yes.
Or Steam only?
I think it's on Steam only, yeah.
For those who may not
otherwise
on the show know what that game is, would you mind just giving us a brief?
Yeah, Kind Words is my vote here, actually.
Yeah.
Kind Words is this really, really weird, wonderful little thing where it's a entirely anonymous, just sort of like goodwill game where it's inspired by, if you might know that YouTube stream, like lo-fi chill beats to relax and study to, or whatever it is. It's just this 24-hour live stream that just plays this really like chill, relaxing music with no vocals. And this game is explicitly designed to emulate that, in that it just plays this really nice chill music while you're in it's just you in a little room, in an isometric room. And people post things that are like questions or concerns or whatever they have on their mind, and it's like in a very
other
limited
players.
And you can flip through these things, and then if you see one that kind of resonates with you, and it literally can be anything, right? It can be, hey, I just broke up with my girlfriend and I feel really bad right now, or it can be like, hey, tell me a funny story, or hey, tell me a silly thing that happened to you on the way to work yesterday, right? Like I've seen all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you pick one, and then you get, I think it's like 14 lines, and you just write this person a letter. And you don't know them, and you don't know who they are, and the game very explicitly is like, don't try to solve people's problems. Sometimes people just need to know they've been heard. They just need to vent and be listened to.
Yeah.
And you just write them a message. It's like something nice or something sweet or answering their question or whatever you want to do. And then if they can't respond to you, so if they liked what you think, your message, they can give you a little star, and that just means like, hey, you got through to them.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. And then similarly, you can send out things into the world that then people will send you letters for. And that's the entire game. And it's really, really well moderated. The community is like very good about shutting down abuse and any sort of mean things. And it's just this really sweet thing where you just like I haven't played a ton of it, but like you just sit down for a little bit and like read some nice things and send some nice letters. And if you've got like anxiety over anything in your life, you just kind of like send out a little message, and people just let you know how they feel or that you've been heard. And it's like, it's a very risky, daring sort of idea for a game that is just a little bit of positivity being put out in the world.
Yeah.
And it's so refreshing.
Yeah, and in terms of what this category represents, I feel like that's the most true to that. I don't know if it will win because I don't know how many people have played it.
I don't think it has the recognition.
Yeah.
I think maybe Gris or Life is Strange will win.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer to me because I think Gris is a lovely game, but I also think that its message is a little bit obtuse in that it doesn't, like, you can play through that game, and if you're not paying attention, like, you will not have any idea really what it's about. And it's not, I don't want that thing to just be like explicit, but like I don't know, it just is a little bit
muddled.
Yeah, for this category specifically, it feels like it maybe doesn't go far enough.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's why I like seeing Concrete Genie here, because that is a game very much where its message is about the cycle of bullying and how to stop that through art and through positivity, and that's a pretty great thing too.
Yeah.
So I would like to see it win. I do think Life is Strange 2 or Gris probably will win, especially on name recognition, though based on how it sounds, and I haven't played, I would like Kind Words to get a nomination here. Or a win, excuse me.
Yeah, I don't think, honestly, I don't think it will, but it is, if you have a PC and that sounds appealing to you, I highly recommend it. I think it's only like $3 or something. It's pretty cheap. Okay. And it's very, very sweet.
Want to get to at least a couple more, but best ongoing game: Apex Legends, Destiny 2, FF14, Fortnite, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege.
Well, my pick's not on there. Monster Hunter.
Kind Words?
Oh. Yeah. No, Monster Hunter would be my pick for this category. Okay. But otherwise, I think I'd probably pick Final Fantasy or Rainbow Six.
I feel like FF14 should win just because like the comeback story of that game continues to impress me, even as someone who doesn't play it. But I really don't know, because Fortnite obviously is the biggest game in the world, and depending on who's voting, Fortnite could easily win.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if Apex, though, because of its recency,
Yeah.
sneaks ahead.
I would not be upset if either of those games win because that's the thing is all the games on this list I think have had very good years in terms of community support and updates, and not all their updates have been good, but they have been consistent, and all of them for the most part have been pretty vocal with their communities about those updates and what they're changing and what they're looking at. So I think that there's kind of not really a wrong choice here.
Yeah, I kind of agree there.
I do think,
cop out, but
yeah, but also I think Fortnite's probably just going to win because it's Fortnite.
It's Fortnite, but I think any of them would be deserving this year, especially given what Fortnite did with Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Moving on from that, best independent game. Are you ready, Tom?
Yeah.
Baba
This is
Is
my
You,
category, man.
Disco Elysium, Katana Zero, Outer Wilds, and Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah, that's a good list, man.
Yeah.
That's not even like all of them.
No, but if that was the Game of the Year list, I'd be okay with that too.
You know, right? Yeah, this is a funny category because they also have another one that's like best first game from a indie studio.
Yeah.
And so like there's some indie game like Slay the Spire is not on here, and like I think that would be
The other category is fresh indie game presented by Subway.
that we can talk about later.
Yeah, we
but
can talk about that.
As for this indie game list, I think my vote pretty easily is Outer Wilds.
Okay.
I think Outer Wilds is a contender for my overall game of the year.
Yeah.
Very, very like strongly.
I need to finish it. I definitely need to go back to it.
And as for what will win, I think probably Goose Game actually has a chance. Yeah.
Goose. Yeah, I'm all for the goose, not just because I dressed up as it for Halloween, not the goose, one of the characters, and because it's my girlfriend's favorite game of like all time now. We talk about the goose so much. We bought a plush goose that now sits in our apartment. We like Goose Game.
I think Outer Wilds could win. I think Goose Game is probably the front runner, and I think Disco Elysium would be the front runner if it wasn't only on PC.
Yeah,
I think if more people played that, they would be more impressed by
I
it.
cannot wait to play that game next year when it's on PS4.
Right.
I would also, I think for me, Outer Wilds or Goose Game, I think will win, depending on how many of like the jury panel votes for Outer Wilds. Otherwise, I think Goose Game is the front runner. But I do want to give a shout out to Katana Zero, which wasn't on PS4 this year, but I loved that game.
Yeah,
it definitely it feels like a part one of a game to me. I've said that before, but the style of it, the tone of it, the action as it progresses, I just think is so fun.
Yeah, Katana Zero. I'm glad to see that got some representation.
Yeah, I'm gonna move on from a few of these, especially some of the like more basic categories. What? A light just changed colors in the studio. Huh. All right. Well, we're going to keep going. Best VR AR game. Some of these are PSVR games, some are not. But Asgard's Wrath, which is from Oculus Studios. So if you own a PSVR, that's why you might not have played it. Blood and Truth, PSVR exclusive. Beat Saber, which came to PSVR last year, but came out in full release on other VR platforms this year. So that's why it's nominated. No Man's Sky from Hello Games, and Trover Saves the Universe.
Yeah.
A really solid list of VR games.
It's very nice. And there's even some missing from that. Like this isn't, hate on VR all you want. This has been a good year for VR,
Yeah,
man.
and I even thought it was a quieter year for VR, but I think it's been a really good year.
Yeah.
What would you want to win?
Beat Saber.
Me too.
This is the thing about this list is that all of those games are great VR games. Beat Saber is like transcendent.
Yeah.
And I still need to play Asgard's Wrath, which I hear is like one of the best games in VR right now. Cool. But Beat Saber is just, it's so simple and so great.
Beat Saber is like genre defining.
Yes, it is.
Or medium defining in this case. Whereas all those other games I think are great.
Yeah.
But not the ones that I've played at least, but not necessarily, as you said, transcendent.
Yeah.
Like, for me, Blood and Truth is a blast. I've talked about the game. I think it's definitely like in my top 10 for the year. I think it's so fun. I can't wait to see what London Studio does next. Trover is so funny.
Yeah.
And I love that they're supporting that game the way they are, where they're just adding free updates rather than changing the price. They're not charging for those, but keeping the base game's price the same while they just add more free DLC, which I think is great. I haven't played much of the No Man's Sky VR adaptation, but from all intents, from everything I've heard, it's No Man's Sky in VR, which is pretty great.
Sure.
And then, as you said, with Asgard's Wrath, I don't think there's a bad choice, and the color just changed again in the studio, and that's bothering my periph, but we'll not worry about it.
Don't question it.
But yeah, I think that's a really great category regardless. I do think Beat Saber probably will win. Mm-hmm. I do want to we'll skip some of the specific genre awards for the moment to go to Fresh Indie Game presented by Subway.
God,
why is this called Fresh Indie Game?
So weird.
I know this game this show needs ad support and obviously sponsorships and all of that. Was the idea that maybe to get another indie game award in here, they needed to justify the price of it?
I think that's the message it sends.
That's what it says to me, is like, we wanted to highlight more indie games, which is a great thing to do, especially in a year so full of big AAA games. But to do that, we needed to get a sponsorship.
Yeah, that's the message it sends.
Yeah.
And this is the weird thing is, again, I agree. I don't fault this show for needing to sustain itself and wanting sponsorship. Yeah. This is the weirdest category to have sponsored, is the brand new indie game category.
Why are the esports categories not sponsored? Or the content creator, content creator of the year. Now, obviously, people are on all these different platforms, so it's different. But if you told me content creator of the year sponsored by YouTube or something like that, I wouldn't have batted an eye. It's a little weird.
It's just funny, but it doesn't really matter.
And this is specifically for the dev too. The way the nominations are listed are for the dev for the game they made this year. But it's a Zom. Zom.
Maybe I'm wrong.
For Disco Elysium, Nomada Studio for Gris, Dead Toast Entertainment, they win for Best Name, for My Friend Pedro, Mobius Digital for Outer Wilds, Mega Crit for Slay the Spire, and House for Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah.
I don't know who to pick here because I don't.
This category is wild because four of those 6 are on my personal game of the year list.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe 3 of those 6, but some of those games are these are the first entries from these studios, and they're some of the best games of the year.
Yeah.
Flat
No,
out.
this is one of, just like the other, I think the other indie game category is also stacked, but both of these showed that just if you're looking for things to play between big AAA releases, it is not hard to find things.
No,
there is some great stuff out there.
Especially when Disco Elysium will take you,
60.
40 to 60 hours, and Outer Wilds will take you 20, and Slay the Spire you can play literally forever.
You can also do that with Untitled Goose Game if you just keep running around as the goose and causing mayhem. I've been doing it. I don't know who to pick here. I would say Outer Wilds, just because of the way I know that game grabs so many people. And because of its gameplay loop and everything is very unique. But I don't know.
I think I'm
Slay the Spire?
I'm between Slay the Spire and Outer Wilds, but also I like Disco Elysium a lot. It's really tricky.
Yeah.
Maybe, I think overall I'd either pick Slay or Outer Wilds. And what will win is Lord only knows.
Yeah.
I want Slay the Spire to win, but I don't know if it will.
Me neither.
I think probably this one will go to Disco or Outer Wilds. That's my feeling.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a weird one, and we're a little pressed for time, so I don't want to go into too many of the genre categories. Best multiplayer game, I feel like you and I have not played these games enough to say.
Yeah.
But Tetris 99 is pretty great, and I'm actually kind of happy to see it nominated against COD and Apex and all these other big games.
Just
is
weird.
That game, which I love. But yeah, that has been really funny. Overall, what do you think, as I pull up a memory card, if you wouldn't mind vamping for a sec, what do you think of the nominations this year as a whole?
I think it's a little bit of what we talked about earlier, right? It's a really good year for games, and it's easy to look at these lists and be like, well, this doesn't really seem right. There's this game is missing, and I don't know about this one, but that's really indicative of the fact that there was a lot of choice this year, and there was a lot of choice that is going to be very personal. I know some people who just didn't like the Outer Wilds, and I know some people who didn't like Death Stranding, and I know a lot of people who did like those games, and nothing is clear cut this year, and nothing is. I think that goes with what you were saying too, of that excites me because potentially we're going to have a more varied year in terms of winners. If Control, even if I would vote for that for Game of the Year, even if it doesn't win there, I think it has a big chance in something like art or narrative. And similarly, if Resident Evil doesn't win in an overall category, I think it still could in a genre category.
Yes,
there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah, and there's a lot of potential, I think, for all of those games to be recognized.
Right.
As long as people don't sort of, vote down the ballot and just put RE2 for everything or Death Stranding for everything. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. The Game Awards are on December 12th. I forget the exact time, but we, of course, evening for us. We'll be covering it on IGN, not just the winners, but all of the crazy announcements and everything there. So expect a lot from that show. And, of course, stay tuned for our Game of the Year and Best of 2019 nominees and awards, which will be rolling out pretty soon. I don't know the exact dates / if we are allowed to say them, but those are coming soon, so stay tuned for those. Before we wrap up, and I hope the audio works, we're going to do a memory card. I think there was just straight up silence for like 3 seconds. Perfect. Anyway, Memory Card is our weekly segment where you, the listeners and viewers at home, write in with your funny, sad, happy, weird, wacky, whatever memories of your PlayStation life. We read those on the show. You can write in to beyond@ign.com with the subject line Memory Card, and each week we'll read 1 or 2 of these on the show. This week's comes from Nathan. Nathan says, Horizon, the Ultimate Victory Lap. He gave it a title. I appreciate when people give us titles. Back in the late 2016 to 2017 season, I found out that me and everyone at my level at my company would be subject to a restructure. Starting in the new year, 16 of us would be reduced down to 6, and we all had to interview against each other. Being the youngest by at least 10 years and young in general for my field, I was understandably nervous. Fast forward to January, and I was chosen as one of the 6 and told that I had the best interview. Let me tell you, there was a lot of emotion to unpack, understandably, given that you're working with all these people and then kind of forced against them. When that happened, he said, though, I immediately went and purchased a PS4 and Horizon. Going through that story was such catharsis, and I related to the search for Aloy's identity very much. We learned the most about ourselves in times of adversity, and surviving the restructure was such a victory that then immediately presented itself with a whole new set of challenges. For me, Horizon will always be associated with that time and ultimately something I associate with a tumultuous and uncertain future. Fitting. Thanks for all your time and the things you guys do. Beyond. Thank you, Nathan, for writing in. Congratulations to you for still having a job. I'm happy that was able to happen. Obviously, it can be a lot of tough times that games can get us through, so I'm glad you had Horizon there to, help be sort of an emotional catharsis for you. It's always nice to have that.
It's always nice, too, when a game lines up with what's going on in your life.
Yes, yeah. It can be funny how art can do that sometimes. Tom, this is our Thanksgiving episode.
It is.
For those who are in the United States celebrating Thanksgiving, we hope you have a wonderful holiday. For those of you around the world who are listening and wondering why we're not talking about the obviously big PS5 news that dropped, we're sorry. We're on holiday. We'll be back next week with the full show. Tom, is there anything you are in particular thankful for from this year?
Like, specifically about games?
No, just whatever. Just tell me a bit about you.
Oh, this got real deep.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I'm thankful for, people coming around a little bit in terms of, understanding. It feels like this is a very tumultuous time in the world generally, not getting into anything or even really referencing anything specific. And it just is it's always nice when you see pockets of people acting calmly on the internet.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's always nice when somebody just takes the time to say, okay, before I post this thing, let me think about it from their perspective. And I've been seeing more of that lately,
Me too.
I think.
Yeah.
And I just I'm thankful for people taking a minute.
Yeah.
It's always nice.
It's very nice to see, and I agree with you. There has seemed to be a little bit more of that as time has gone on.
There's also been a lot of rage and anger.
Oh yes, yeah, of course. That will always be there.
But yeah, that'll always be there.
It's nice to see the light in the dark. I did want to say before we wrap up the show, since it is the week of thanks in North America, I did just want to say thank you to everyone who watches or listens to the show, who goes to IGN, reads or listens or watches to our stuff. It means so much to us. We make this show and all the other shows and all the other content on IGN for you out there to read and to consume in whatever medium it may be. So it's so appreciative that you decide to spend a little bit of your week with us. I try to make the show as positive as it can be, especially, as you said, in a time where it can be so negative sometimes. It's nice to have some positivity. So I hope Beyond brings you some positivity each week when you listen or watch.
Well, now I feel like I screwed mine up.
No, you didn't. You did good. Thank you for being on the show, Tom. I know I asked you as I was on a car in because Lucy was like, I'm sick today. And I was like, I need someone on the show. And you are always there to be on the show. And legitimately, I'm so thankful to be able to do the show with you.
That's what the middle name stands for. seat filler. There's just a silent R at the beginning.
Receipt filler. I'm thankful to those boys too, but they're not here, so they're never going to hear that. But no, I'm thankful to everyone who's on this show every week, the main cast, the supporting cast who helps fill these wonderful seats and brings their knowledge and wisdom to the show. That great guy. It's truly a joy to do the show every week. Thank you so much for letting us do the show every week for you. And I hope you have a wonderful holiday if you're celebrating. And if not, I hope you just have a wonderful time playing games in the next few days. Normally, Beyond is live every Wednesday, 3 p.m. Pacific at beyond.ign.com, youtube.com/IGNBeyond, and your favorite podcast services around the world. We'll be back to fill in whatever amazing news and releases happened by surprise during Thanksgiving. You know, everyone loves to drop games during Thanksgiving.
My prediction is the PS5 will be revealed, but in like a newsletter that only some people get or something.
Probably.
Like just really a weird obscure
During the
place.
Vox newsletter, it was revealed.
Yeah, exactly.
The PS5 is coming out on this date. No, thank you so much for listening or watching to this show. And as always, Beyond.
Beyond!